am here in Cairo. Time for the news bulletin from Channel 2 and the Egyptian satellite channel. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I have the pleasure to have with me my dear colleague Bسمة.
Thank you so much, Amal. And dear viewers, starting off with the main headlines of the day. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrives in Eritrea to discuss bilateral ties and regional developments. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli addresses launch ceremony of 4th National Plan on combating illegal immigration. And Israeli occupation forces killed 2 UNIFIL members in Lebanon and conduct a strike on a Gaza shelter.
Welcome back. The news in details. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrived today in Eritrean capital Asmara, where he was received by Eritrea's President Isaias Afwerki. The visit sees the two leaders discuss boosting bilateral ties in different fields, in addition to a number of regional issues of mutual concern. The talks also cover efforts for strengthening the stability and security of the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea, which will contribute to the development process in the region.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said today the state attaches a top priority to increasing the number of technological colleges, being a non-traditional idea which brings together the academic and applicable paths and provides integrated educational services along the quality of world education systems. The Prime Minister made these remarks in an expanded tour at technological colleges in Upper Egypt Governorate Luxor. Madbouli noted that he will be visiting a set of educational and health institutions in the framework of the state's keen interest in the two sectors being closely linked, the human resources development, which is essential to any social or economic growth in the country.
Well, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli said today that migration has been always a global phenomenon which contributed to shaping societies. However, he said that illegal immigration has its economic, social and security repercussions on individuals and the states as well. The Prime Minister also made these remarks in a video conference speech in the launch ceremony of the 4th National Plan of Action on Combating Illegal Immigration at the new administrative capital. Madbouli added that Egypt made notable progress in this file through creation of National Coordinative Committee, which developed a comprehensive plan and launched active programs aiming to uproot the phenomenon and handle its causes.
Minister of Foreign Immigration and Egyptian Expatriates Affairs Badr Abdelati today received a delegation of the African Union Peace and Security Council. The minister briefed the African officials on Egypt's vision with regards to the security, political and development challenges facing the continent. The top diplomat was keen to get a first-hand knowledge on the delegation's visit to post-Sudan, which mainly aimed at forging a vision to solve the Sudanese crisis. The African delegation's visit comes in the framework of Egypt's current presidency of the AU Council.
Hezbollah said it had attacked Israeli occupation forces today with a missile salvo while they were trying to pull casualties out of the Ras al-Naqoura border area, and they were directly hit. Meanwhile, the Israeli occupation military said that airstrikes overnight and the day before targeted weapons storage facilities in Beirut's southern suburbs and southern Lebanon, where it claimed that Hezbollah infrastructure was struck. Israeli occupation strikes have killed more than 2,100 people in Lebanon over the last year, the vast majority of them in the last few weeks along the first anniversary of the genocide war in Gaza.
Israeli occupation forces today fired on 2 positions used by UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon, and at another one yesterday as the occupation military pressed its assault on Hezbollah and told Lebanese civilians not to return to homes in the south. The UNIFIL force said 2 of its peacekeepers were injured in one of the incidents when an Israeli occupation tank fired at an observation tower at the force main headquarters in Naqoura, hitting the tower and causing them to fall. Israeli occupation soldiers had also fired at a UN position in Ras Naqoura, hitting the entrance to the bunker where peacekeepers were sheltering and damaging vehicles and communication system.
Addressing a United Nations Security Council meeting on the situation in the Middle East, Lebanon's Prime Minister Najib Mikati said today that diplomatic communications have intensified in the past hours for a ceasefire to the ongoing fight. He also noted that there are contacts taking place between the United States and France with the aim of reviving a ceasefire declaration for a specific period in order to resume the search for political solutions to the regional crises. Mikati have pointed out to a contingency plan to rescue the displaced, having caused an unusual pressure on the Lebanese government.
An Israeli strike on a school sheltering displaced in the Gaza Strip killed at least 27 people today. The strike in the central Gaza city of Deir al-Balah also left several other people wounded. The occupation military has repeatedly attacked schools that were turned into shelters in Gaza, alleging that Hamas fighters were using them as hideouts. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Health Ministry announced that the occupation military carried out 4 massacres over the past 24 hours, leaving 55 deaths and 166 injuries. It said that at least 42,065 Palestinians were killed and more than 97,000 were injured since the occupation forces began an all-out genocide war on the Palestinian enclave a year ago.
The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations said today that a ship was struck and damaged by an unknown projectile in the Red Sea following months of attacks by Yemen's Houthi group. Amfrey, a maritime security firm, said that the Liberia-flagged chemicals tanker was hit on its bridge, causing light damage southwest of Hodeidah port city. The ship was traveling from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia to Muscat in Oman. The Houthi group has targeted ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden since November in what they describe as support for Palestinians during the Israeli occupation war on Gaza.
The Ukrainian military said today it had struck an ammunition depot overnight at an airfield in Russia's Adygea region. Ukraine's military also said it struck a base in the region's southern Russia where Shahed drones are stored. The previous night, the military hit a Russian weapons arsenal in a region that borders northern Ukraine, and this came as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky discussed the support Kiev would need in its war against Russia in the coming month during talks in London.
Hurricane Milton brought powerful winds, a deadly storm surge, and flooding to much of Florida after making landfall along the Gulf Coast as a Category 3 storm. The details in the following.
Hurricane Hurricane Milton crashed into the Florida coast, packing furious winds and triggering life-threatening storm surges across a region still reeling from another massive storm 2 weeks before. Milton triggered tornadoes before its arrival, with unconfirmed reports of multiple fatalities after one twister struck a senior living community on Florida's east coast. Extreme winds of up to 105 miles per hour were recorded on Wednesday night, according to the National Hurricane Center. Tidal surges were expected to inundate western Florida's heavily populated and low-lying Gulf Coast. At least 1.6 million households and businesses lost power in the state by late Wednesday. Milton is later expected to rip through inland areas towards the Atlantic Ocean, with tourist hub Orlando in its path. Scientists say global warming has a role in intense storms as warmer ocean surfaces release more water vapor, providing additional energy for storms, which exacerbates their winds.
Moving to the economic news, as Minister of Planning and International Cooperation, Dr. Rania Al-Mashat stressed on the deep and historic ties binding Egypt and Romania, expressing keen interest to enhance economic cooperation and increase the volume of trade exchange. The remarks were made as she addressed the opening session of the Egyptian-Romanian Business Forum in Bucharest, with the attendance of around 130 companies from both sides working in the field of foreign trade. The session is part of the fourth round of the Egyptian-Romanian Joint Committee, which aims at activating bilateral cooperation and partnership in various fields.
Egypt's bourse closed lower today amid sell-offs on different shares and a reshuffle of a financial portfolio. The market capital of listed companies reached £2.189 trillion at the end of transactions that stood at £42 billion. The benchmark index EGX 30 fell 1.33% above the 30,762-point mark. The equal-weighted indices EGX 70 and the EGX 100 climbed 0.47% and 0.55% respectively.
Egypt's national football team hosts Mauritanian rivals tomorrow at 7 p.m. Cairo local time in the 2025 Morocco's Africa Cup of Nations third-round qualifiers. The national team will include 5 professionals: Mohamed Salah, Omar Marmoush, Mustafa Mohamed, Mohamed Abdelmenaim, and Mahmoud Sabr. The Pharaohs will clash again with the Mauritanian side in a fourth-round away match day on October 15th. Egypt topped Group C on 6 points after 2 wins over other group team Cape Verde and Botswana. Mauritania ranked third on 3 points.
Spain's Rafa Nadal, who won 22 Grand Slam singles titles, said today that he was putting an end to his career, a decision effective after the Davis Cup final, after a professional journey that made him one of the greatest players in tennis. The Davis Cup knockout phase will be played from the 19th until the 24th of November. Nadal's career has been hampered by injuries, and he missed the 2023 French Open and was beaten in the first round of German Alexander Zverev this year. The King of Clay won his last Roland Garros title in 2022 and left Paris on a jaw-dropping 112.4 win-loss record. Nadal played only 23 matches in the last 2 sessions. My dear viewers, with this we come to the end of the news bulletin. My name is Amal Mukhtar. I thank you, Bسمة.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amal, and thank you for our dear viewers.